Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at your service. My name is Carmen Nieves, and I am your host. And as we do each week, we bring individuals into our room to share with you who they are and how they serve our community with a purpose. And today, I say this every time, but there really is just each guest gets better. And I will tell you that this is the favorite part of my week, because I get an opportunity to introduce our audience to individuals that are doing miraculous things. And these, to me, are everyday heroes. So today, just like we do each week, our goal is to inform, entertain, and engage. And today, to help us do that, is my friend, my new friend, Dan Vieira. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about you, your family.
Sure. So I'm Dan of Live Free. It's a nonprofit organization that helps kids with cancer. I am originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Woohoo.
Yeah, and graduate of Central High School in Bridgeport. Graduated in 2002.
Okay.
Right after high school, joined the Marine Corps, did 5 years in the Marines. It's kind of where my life of service started.
Wow. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, my pleasure. I enlisted about 6 months after 9/11. Impacted me. I was a senior in high school when 9/11 happened. And I started my life of service then. I shipped off to Marine Corps boot camp in September of 2002, and I did 5 years as a helicopter mechanic. So that's my start, yeah.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, I knew you didn't know that when we talked earlier.
I didn't, and he refused to send me his bio. And this just goes to prove how we have individuals in our community that are just so humble. And so tell me a little bit, I know that this is about providing a service to children that have cancer.
Yeah.
So how did you start that? Why did you start that?
That's a great question. So I have two young kids, Armando and Lauren. And Armando is my oldest, and my wife got pregnant pretty quick after first was born. They're 13 months apart. When Lauren was just over a year old, she started getting some bruises on her body that were kind of suspicious. We didn't really understand why she was getting bruises. So we ended up bringing her to the doctor, and life kind of changed. A few hours after drawing blood, they rushed us up to Yale, New Haven. They were like, hey, just go up there and there's gonna be some doctors waiting for you in the emergency room. So we didn't really know what to expect. And a few hours after, there was a doctor came in and was like, your daughter has cancer. And it was a life-changing moment. The worst news you can ever hear, promise.
I can't even, especially being a little girl, being new baby, new dad really within 2 years.
Yeah.
So what made you want to start this organization? I know it's because, and she was diagnosed when?
She was diagnosed in 2015.
In 2015.
Yeah, and then the community really rallied behind us. The sports center in Shelton, Connecticut, they shut down for a day, and they allowed people to come and use their services, and all the fees that they collected, they actually donated to my family. And it was a great gesture. The community really rallied behind us, but it felt really weird taking the money. It was a lot of money for us at the time, and at the time that it happened, my daughter getting cancer was fresh. And if I'm being honest, I didn't even know kids really got cancer. You hear about it in the news, you'll see the commercials on the TV, but you don't know about it until you're really in it. And as we were going through the treatment with her and going through chemo, we were finding more and more families that were, affected by cancer. It was really sad, actually. And my family was fortunate enough to have that support of the community, and there were other families that were there that did not.
Yeah.
So we felt almost an obligation to pay it forward, to take some of the money that was raised from us from the sports center. We actually called it Live Free Day at the sports center, and we decided to give some of that money to other families that were going through it just like we were. And what we did was I wanted to impact them in our own special way, and because I was a young dad with two very young kids, our family structure was impacted completely. It's drawn to a halt. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make the impact in our own way and provide little moments of joy. So we started off with getting tickets to like Bearsley Park and Mystic Aquarium, and we got movie tickets and gift certificates to local restaurants, just so the families can go out and have a good time. So that was the inception of Live Free.
So share with our audience up to like how many families has your organization helped out?
Yeah, we didn't keep track in the beginning because we didn't really know that it was going to be an
'Cause it wasn't
organization.
about that.
Right, it wasn't really about that. We didn't know that we were going to form and do this. We were just trying to do some good and make an impact in the community. But in the past, I'd say it's well over 500, probably 6 or 7 actually. But we have about 400 documented, but there were years that we didn't document. So yeah.
I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
And could you share with us what the website is? Because you guys have got to
Oh.
take a look at this website. So
Please.
share the website.
So it's livefreetoday.org. That's a picture of my family there. It's livefreetoday.org, and you can visit that and see a whole bunch of things on our website. One of the pride of the website for me is called the Wall of Smiles.
Yes.
And that's just the photos of all the kids that we've helped along the way. As an organization, we've grown just doing small little things like the aquarium and the zoo, like I talked about. And now we do bigger things. We don't really do these extravagant things because as a family, you wouldn't normally do those extravagant things. We just want to provide little moments of joy like you would do normally.
Yeah.
So now we provide tickets to ball games, amusement parks. We do some pretty cool stuff, and I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's been incredible. The Wall of Smiles is really cool. Another thing that's super easy that I want to talk about is the Refer a Family. Mm-hmm. If you know somebody locally that's going through pediatric cancer, please, we make it super simple on our website, the Refer a Family tab. You can go in there, just it's anonymous, only we see it, and we take it from there, and we'll provide a moment of joy to a family that's going through cancer.
I love, because it made me think of another big organization that does something similar.
Sure.
But it just made me feel like this one gives it a different kind of spin, because I don't know how many other children are terminal. Your daughter was not terminal.
Correct.
So does it matter what level of
No.
of cancer they're in, or what kind of cancer they have?
No, so there are wish organizations. We don't really like to call ourselves a wish organization because we're just trying to give a little sense of normalcy. Some of the things that we like to focus on is, again, the whole family, right? So maybe mom and dad just need a night out, right? You don't think about that.
Very often we don't.
Right, me and my wife, we tag teamed. We had 2 kids. One was going to grandma's, one was staying home. Like not that we didn't see each other, but we definitely didn't connect as a couple. So we set out to do that. We send just couples. Sometimes the focus is just on the child with cancer, right? So mom and dad want to reconnect with a sibling, and they just want to do something special with the sibling. So we sent mom and siblings that didn't have the cancer to a football game, as an example, to help them just reconnect as a family. And then we help kids that are up to 26 years old too, because those are kids, and they're still getting treated as children in the pediatric oncology world. They're treated with a protocol that are just for children. So we like to focus on them as well.
So you talked about the Wall of Smiles, right? So I want to display your Wall of Smile. Right. So we're going to show this next one, and these are the different stages of Lauren. So tell me a little bit about what we see.
So that's me and Lauren. A lot of those are when she lost her hair, which is a big deal for us. That's the symbol of cancer, right? When you see that, it becomes real. When she had it in the beginning, her hair didn't fall out right away. So we were like, oh, she's sick, but, and then the hair falls out. And it's super traumatic. It's super traumatic.
At any age.
Sure.
At any age, you know, and especially for a little person that doesn't really understand, but you guys did a great way of educating her and involving her.
Sure. So we, her hair started falling out in clumps, unfortunately. So we just, we knew that it was going to happen. So we just shaved her head to make it a little bit simpler for us and for her. She was a champ about it. There's a video on our website about it.
Our guests have to see it. So after the show, we'll put the link to the show, and we'll put that video, because I tried hard to download it and I couldn't, but it's so wonderful. It's only a couple of minutes, and it explains kind of her journey in such a sweet way that when I was telling our guests on Facebook, you really have to get a tissue to watch this. So tell me, so in the Walls of Smiles, so first let me go back to, this is really, you guys are really an inspirational family, because your whole family is involved, right?
Yeah, we are.
So share with me some of the titles, because you serve as the president, right?
So I am no longer the president.
What? You're not longer the president?
No longer the founder and president. I've been titled the chief morale officer.
Oh, how
so
awesome.
Thank you. I don't like traditional titles. So my wife is the chief Hope Officer.
I saw it.
So her job, her title is basically she goes out and she tries to raise funds for Live Free so we can have the funds to do it. Courtney, who's incredible, she's the Chief Joy Officer, and she's the one that actually provides the moments for the family. And then we recently brought on Jim McCaffrey, who is the Chief Inspiration Officer. We should have him on here one day because his story is incredible.
I would love it.
And he's been impacted by pediatric cancer, and I'm not going to share his story because it's one that you should hear. It's amazing. But we have fun titles, but they're all important, and they're important to the organization, and they're important to what charity work is, right?
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So we met through a mutual friend, a mutual acquaintance. And it's Steve Diaz, and who's probably watching, because he's just such an amazing, and he himself has a great inspirational story that I was mentioning to you, that we're actually, my company and Ricky, who's in the studio, who I introduced you to, is making a commemorative bench that Nell helped us commission for him. But how did you guys meet?
So Live Free likes to fundraise, and we talked a little bit about this, but Live Free likes to fundraise in a fun way as well. And one of the things that we realize is that it's actually a beautiful part of this journey is that we get to meet some of the most incredible people. When you're in charity work, you get to meet some really amazing people.
And in my role, because I get to interview them and help them be seen the way they don't want to be seen.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, we have that.
So we set out to do a baseball jamboree a few years back, and what it is we don't charge kids to come. We ask them to go out and fundraise. We want to inspire them to go out and be a part of the community and do good charitable work through their platform, any platform, right? You can do good doing anything.
Absolutely.
Anything. You can do anything and do good using it. So we set out to use baseball as the platform, and we did really well. And Steven Sr. actually donated his time to umpire games. He's an umpire locally. So he umpired some of the games, and at the end of it, and I didn't even know this, he was like, "Hey Dan, just want to talk to you real quick." He's like, "Just to let you know, like, I'm volunteering my time. My son's actually a cancer survivor, a cancer patient at the time." So I was like, "We're going to take some of this money and we're going to do something for your son." So we connected with Steven after that, and we ended up sending Steven and Steven Jr. and some siblings, I believe, to a Patriots game. A football game, which was incredible to see them have a good time.
It makes a difference, and I just want to go back to what you were saying, because sometimes and this is me and you were talking to prep for this interview, and I'm like, "Give me your bio, give me this." He's like, No, I just want to talk about the organization. But we ask that because individuals, one, they don't know us other than whatever our lives are,
sure,
right? Whatever it is that we let people see. And we're not sharing your story for individuals to feel like, because a lot of people don't want to be boisterous. They're like, "This is what I'm doing, and I'm kind of like doing it over here." Yes. It's not my, and I'm like, we have to share the story because this is what inspires people and you said it doesn't matter how they fundraise or what cause they support, but it's just one little thing makes a difference. So you and Steve made a connection because you had a shared lived experience with cancer. How does that work with the families? Like, do you meet each one of the families?
So not all. If I'm being honest, towards the middle of Live Free's life, I kind of had to take myself away from it with interacting with the families because it started to just touch home a little too heavy for me.
Yeah.
We had lost a lot. I gained a lot of relationships with these families, and when you lose them, it's hard, and it doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
So that's Courtney's role came in, and she took over helping the families, and occasionally I will. Just going back on Steven Jr. actually ended up coaching my son in baseball, which I thought was really special.
Yeah, and he coached for like 3 years.
He did.
And my grandchildren are part of now.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. I've been to like a few games, but I didn't even know Steven or any of the coaches or any one of the former coaches now works for me. Steven has become like a friend. When we did our 100th episode for here, he like helped support the sound view, right, and things like that. And it makes such a difference, sure, by the way that, and I get what you're saying because people don't understand how things hit. And I lost my grandson, my dad, my brother, and some days it's good, it's okay, and some days it's not okay.
It's not.
So
it's
different
hard.
Things can impact. How did your family kind of, or maybe that's not the right question. What is some advice that you could give families that are going through that and they just don't know. Me, like, I didn't know how to really like support my daughter. What are some things that everyday people can do when it doesn't matter what they have, just if they're not well, what is some advice?
Just be there and listen. That's the biggest thing. What I find is that some people don't know how to act, so they're either too much in their face or like they withdraw completely.
Yeah.
And it's neither. It's, hey, I'm here for you. What do you need? Sometimes they don't even want to talk about the cancer. They just want a friend to talk to. They just want to go have a beer, or they just want to go and kind of have that regain, that sense of normalcy. Normalcy is really big. But most times if you just ask and you're not afraid to confront what's going through, that's when I find that you have the best relationship in those relationships. When people were asking me the hard questions, I still ask hard questions, and that's one of the, when I do build relationships with families, I'm okay with like, hey, where's the boundary? What can I ask? What can, like, is it okay if I ask this? And if they say yes or they say no, one of the things that I found was when a child passes away, right? It's like really hard, right? Especially as my daughter survived, and sometimes it can be hard for me, like survivor's guilt almost.
Yeah.
But I have learned that it's okay to say, hey, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you. And it's that simple. And you're in my thoughts. And sometimes that's enough. So just be there. Just be there like you normally would.
Because they'll say, if you need me, call me, and then they never call.
Right.
So I think taking the ownership of that is really kind of important.
For sure. And then I think that just there's an elephant in the room, but it doesn't always have to be addressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We can just be normal and not have to talk about it. Or try.
And sometimes we don't know, like when people are grieving, we identify with grieving. We identify with like loss and things like that, but organizations like yours really do make a difference.
We got
a caller.
Let's go.
Welcome to Connecticut at your service. Do you have a question for Dan?
Hi, yes. I was wondering if there's a way to like volunteer. I know you guys mentioned that you do events sometimes. Are there any like coming up?
Great question.
That's a great question. We do have on our website, there is a volunteer tab that you can sign up. You can put your email in and then we'll contact you. If you're local, we are having an event in 2 weeks. It's the baseball jamboree that I was just talking about Stephen. We're having that come up in 2 weeks at Seaside Park. We are in need of volunteers for that, so that would be a great way to volunteer.
And if people wanted to support in other ways, they might be able to, like if they had something to offer? Or...
Yes, we're always willing to have a conversation with people that want to help. Like I said, I meet great people all the time, and one of the things that I find is that people are inherently good and they want to do good, they just don't know how. So we want to be an outlet for people to do good. So please reach out to us that way on our websites, livefreetoday.org, and on the top there's a volunteer tab.
Awesome. Thank you so much, caller. Did you have another question?
No, that was all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. What a great segue. I love that. So tell me a little bit about, you talked about building relationships and how how you bond with these families. Are there any families that their story really like gets to you?
One of my proudest moments was this young girl, her name is Samira, and Samira's from Milford, and she had brain cancer, and her dad was in the Army, and because I was a military guy, this one really touched home. But Samira had many surgeries and had to relearn how to walk and talk when they removed her cancer. And I'd gotten a call from another organization, and they were like, hey, is there a way that we can send Samira to go have Christmas with her dad? He's in the Army, and he used up all his leave to be there for her surgeries and couldn't be home for Christmas. So we partnered with another organization, and we got tickets to send her out to, I believe it was Kansas, to go see her father for Christmas. And that was one of my most special.
Did he know?
He did, because he had to know, so there wasn't a surprise, but he met her at the airport, and there was this special embrace, and there's a video of that on our website. Don't go crying on it.
Listen, I already feel it. Like families are so important, and we don't cherish them the way that we probably should.
Amen.
Until there's something traumatic.
Amen.
And we don't need to wait for that.
That's right.
To create these little moments, and I love kind of what you're talking about. So for our viewers who might be just watching, Dan, tell us a little bit tell us who you are and what is Live Free.
So I am the Chief Morale Officer at Live Free. I founded it in 2016, and we help kids with cancer and their families by sending them to family-friendly events. So ball games, amusement parks, concerts. We just did a whale watching. We did a fishing charter in Hawaii. It's been crazy.
That is awesome.
You know, what I want to share with people is that they can do good. It's not hard to do. I had no idea what I was doing. My background is a helicopter mechanic. That's my background, honest to God. When I joined the Marines, I was a helicopter mechanic. I worked for Boeing out in Arizona, and then I worked at Sikorsky here. And then when my daughter got sick, you know, it was just another call to action, like, how can I help? And, you know, from just, you know, we talked about earlier about sending them to, you know, Bearsley Zoo and Mystic Aquarium. Now we have relationships with the Boston Celtics, and we have relationships with the Golden State Warriors, and Great Wolf Lodge has been phenomenal. They take our families and they put them up in their places in their water parks for free. And we're
beautiful. My daughter went.
Yeah, and we're just doing some incredible things, and I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't, not that I don't know what I'm doing because I have a direction, but like, just do it. If you want to help people, just do it, and God will help you find a way.
Listen, or open up doors for you to be able to do that. And I thank my guests that come in and say, listen, if you like my story, if you think my story is something, then you got to talk to this person.
Jim, I need to get Jim in here.
Listen,
he's great.
This is by far the best part of like my whole week, because I want people, we were talking about Bridgeport, like if you love Bridgeport, then you love Bridgeport, if you're still trying to figure it out. And this is such a beautiful place. I say this all the time, that it doesn't matter what you're looking at. What matters is what you see.
Right.
So if you see bad things, if you
That's
see,
right.
you know, things sick or whatever, then that's what you're going to remember. So these little moments that kind of like help you see something different. So you talked about one of the most memorable stories. So I'm going to put on the screen really quick about your jamboree. I know we just had it up a second ago, but I want to put it up so that we could talk a little bit about it, because people can volunteer, they can. So tell me a little bit about it.
Sure. So we have 44 teams from across Connecticut coming to join for a free jamboree. So it's baseball and softball. They come, they play. We ask each team to fundraise for us. They've been doing a phenomenal job. They've already, I think right as we speak right now, they're up to almost $12,000 raised.
Wow.
And they do a phenomenal job. And then we have the umpires are from Sacred Heart University. Some of the D1 athletes there, they come and they interact with the kids and umpire the games. And it's just a fun setting. And we have some Bridgeport teams in this year, which is really important to me. So I'm really happy that they're doing that. And it's going to be amazing. As long as the weather holds up.
I love it. I love it. And I think even if people don't play, that they would still know that it went to a good cause.
Sure.
Thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Do you have a question for our guests?
Yes. So with the experiences that Dan creates with the families, what is something that you haven't done but want to do?
That's a good question. That's maybe like, where do you see Live Free going in the future?
Yeah, you know, for me, it's not about what they do. For me, it's not about what they do, because every family is different, right? So whatever they want to do as a family is special to me. But I want to help all of them. I want to help all the kids. I want to be able to help as many as possible. So it's not necessarily that I have one experience that I want to give personally, because they all get cool. Like we just did one with a country singer, and the kid actually was able to get on stage and took a selfie with like there's so many cool stories.
I saw Miss Connecticut.
There's
on your website.
Yes, there's so many things that we've done. That they met Shaq and they met Adam Sandler, and like there's been cool things that they've been able to do.
Awesome
But
is that?
yeah, and I don't really have one, but I just want to be able to help them all. That's my hope.
And if somebody wanted to support or help or volunteer, whatever, Live Free, where should they go?
LiveFreeToday.org.
Thank you, caller. Did you have another question?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 2 calls. You the man.
Let's go.
You the man. So as far as how do you see the organization growing? Is the goal kind of to stay local, or do you see yourself going?
Yeah, so we're helping people nationally already. We're helping kids from all over the country.
You are hot today, mister.
Oh, let's go. We'll take another one.
Thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. You have a question for our guests.
Hello, Carmen, Dan, Steve. I just got off the highway from New Haven.
Let's
Hi,
go.
Steve. How are you? We were talking about you. Did you hear us?
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't catch a ticket because I was driving with one hand and the cell phone on the other. But now right. Great job. Home run, Carmen. Of course, Dan needs no introduction. And
He told me
I'm just
that.
here to plug the tournament that's coming up on the 12th and the 13th. We need some umpires. And one thing I've learned through this mini journey, that all of us could just take a little piece of this and carry it. You don't have to, when I ask you to do a whole bunch, a game or two means a lot. I just think that I could have to do it all. Little piece.
That's right.
Little piece, and everybody can do something.
I appreciate you calling, man, but I can't wait to see you and give you a big hug in a couple weeks, all right?
Yeah, and you look pretty natural behind the TV there.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Steve, and we'll be chatting soon because your bench is almost ready, that piece.
Okay, let's keep it a secret to the end.
Take care.
Nice hearing from you, Steve.
Okay, bye-bye.
How nice was that?
I get to see the most, I'm telling you, the blessing is that I get to be around the most incredible people.
So I'm sure that the question that everybody wants to know, what is Lauren doing now?
So Lauren is thriving, and we're very blessed for that. You know, I prayed to God that He would get her to this point, and I told God that I would dedicate my life to serving what He wanted me to, and she's doing really well, thank God. She just picked up a new sport, lacrosse, so she's playing lacrosse. She's in 6th grade. She's thriving. She's beautiful. Her hair is nice and long. She's just a good kid. And you know, off air, you and I were talking, and these kids are special. They get it. They're just softer kids, and they get it. So she's doing really well, and I'm really blessed.
Because you sent the picture, and she's got her hands on. I said she looks like she's a little spitfire.
She could be a little sassy, but she's
and
a good
he's
kid.
like, these kids, they just absolutely get it.
Yeah.
So you want to read what it says on here?
Living life, living fun, and living cancer-free, and we're so blessed for that, and thankful.
Thank you. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. I should have brought a picture of her brother too, but since so really quickly, because we only have like a minute or so, how were your kids involved in the organization?
Oh, so Lauren peddles our Live Free hoodies at school. She's like our number one thing. We had a golf tournament the other day, and I allowed my kids to skip school to be a part of it. They are in the fundraising. Lauren has no problem. She couldn't be here today, but she has no problem going on camera and kind of talking about it. And Lauren's being an inspiration to a lot of people. Her story is really impactful for having such a bad situation turn into so much good. It's pretty cool to see, and to have them a part of it is really great. My son's going to be playing in the baseball tournament, so I try to bring them along for the ride as well.
So she does volunteer for the organization.
Oh, yeah.
Does she have a title?
No, we got to come up with one.
You got to come up with one, and your son too.
We do.
You know, I just think that it's so adorable. So Dan, one more time, how can people reach you?
Is it up on the screen right now?
It is up on the screen right now.
livefreetoday.org. You can make a donation, a small donation. Again, they can volunteer. There's so many ways. If
Donate
you know a family,
something.
donate something, a service, anything. If you want to sponsor events, we have events. You can check out our event page. We have, there's just so much. The kids need it. The kids need the help. The families need our help. So if you're willing to help, we'd love to have you.
And I really like how it's kind of like really local. So Dan, thank you so much for joining us. I told you it was going to go quick.
Yeah, that went
So
fast.
everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode of Connecticut at Your Service. We'll see you again next week with another extraordinary person. Remember, you can make a difference.